Welcome everyone to the Aggregators and Brands show. And today, unfortunately, I don't have Omar yet, but he's going to join us very soon. And I have a great guest, a great friend, Vincenzo Toscano. So, ciao, Vincenzo. So, thank you for joining joining our show. Yeah, welcome and welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate the invite. I mean, I love what you guys are doing with the podcast. I've seen a couple of episodes, and to be honest, it's a pleasure to be here. So thank you for the invite.
Thank you very much. And by the way, I really loved your background, that this mindset is everything. And I mean, the message
get that
is
every
great.
single time.
Yeah, I mean, the message is great, but the perception, right? I mean, like, when you look at it, is it a shark? Is it just a fish? I mean, I love it very much. I think I would definitely go and check, where you get it from later on.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's something I use a lot when I'm having a call with a client or the team and we are struggling or going through a difficult time. I say, guys, remember this picture here. Mindset is everything. Don't give up. Keep going. So yeah,
absolutely, man.
It's
absolutely.
a mantra, is for sure. Yeah,
for sure. So let's start by kind of like maybe you can tell us a bit about yourself. And I know that you are the founder of the Ecomcy, and maybe you can tell us like what you did before that and after, like what is Ecomcy is doing. So that would be really great.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm gonna start with a bit of my background. So before the whole Amazon space and everything, I used to be an engineer, so nothing to do with e-commerce. I used to work for Rolls-Royce as an aerospace engineer in the UK, basically doing the turbines for airplanes and things like that. And then after basically having my 9 to 5 job as an engineer, I started exploring the opportunity to basically doing some side income while I was having my engineering job, because to be honest, since I've been a child, I always wanted to have my own business and my own thing, and I also have always been ambitious, right? So it's not like 9 to 5 was gonna be the end of everything for me in terms of growth. I wanted to achieve something more, and that's how I started exploring on internet, like things to do money on the side. And guess what? Amazon FBA was one of the things I found. That's how I started selling on Amazon, and then things started to go very well. And then from there, after a couple of months and years of selling, I also even saw the opportunity of opening the agency, because people reaching out to me, asking for advice. I saw that there is definitely a need in the market, because there's people that definitely have amazing brands, amazing products outside of Amazon. But when they jump into an Amazon, it's a different animal. It's something you need to understand inside out. And I thought, okay, yes, I want to be part of that, helping through the journey of basically scaling and growing the brand on Amazon. And that's how Ecomcy came into fruition. And now Ecomcy is going to be almost 3 years old in a couple of months. And it's been going great. I mean, teams is growing, clients are doing great, and very happy, to be honest, where we're reaching so far. Yeah.
I mean, that's great to hear. And 3 years is a very long time in the Amazon world. I mean, I sometimes think like one Amazon day is like 10. I mean, it's the difference. Like there's so many changes happening on Amazon. Like it's like 10 days are passing. So if you spend the last 3 years in the Amazon world as an agency, then you have been through like so many changes. Like,
oh my God.
I mean, it's like things. You go for a vacation for 3 months and come back and try to understand Amazon advertising, but the things already changed, right? I mean, so I'm having this with the Amazon technology problems that I'm facing all the time as we are developing the Eva software. One of the things, Vincenzo, and I mean, we want to always talk about aggregators and brands, but like you are owning an agency for 3 years now. What's the differentiator? Why should the people go to Ecomcy? There's like so many agencies as well, right? I mean,
yeah,
you guys are based in UK, but I'm pretty sure you have customers all around the world. Primarily, I'm sure that you have a lot of US customers too, UK customers. I'm sure European customers, maybe Italian ones. Why
For sure.
these guys are like going to you? Is what's the difference?
Yeah, I would say the number one thing that we are well known, at least in the space, is the customer service we provide is like top notch. I make sure that every single client gets 24/7 support no matter the time, and that's why we actually have team members across the globe. So we got people in Latin America, North America, Europe, and Asia, and that basically allows me to make sure that we have basically support 24/7 in depending on the country you're based. So that's one of the first thing. The second thing is that we have basically an A to Z system in terms of how we see your business and the team that basically is going to allow you throughout the whole phase of Amazon business. So what do I mean by this? There is definitely a lot of agencies out there, and I totally agree with you, but I find that nowadays there is a lot of agencies that specialize just in one thing, like maybe photography, maybe PPC, maybe listings, maybe translation. I mean, the different sections of an Amazon business. But we have designed within our basically agencies to have all those micro, I would say, departments within the same roof, right? So that basically allows to make sure that we can fix every single section of your business within the same basically a team. So why this is beneficial? Because we are in the past when we ask feedback for people regarding why you changed to Ecomcy and what you like about working with us, is that sometimes they tell us that the challenge of working with an agency that just specializes on one thing is that, let's say you're working with an agency that just do PPC and you're struggling with conversions, and conversion usually has to do with listing, photography, and all of that. Usually they don't have the teams in place to help you with that, and they usually refer you. You need to go to another agency. You need to be jumping around. Where with us, we take care of everything for you. So I think that's a added value, because it's going to be more time efficient for you, and you're going to ensure that you can have more control of everything that's going on. And I think the third factor when it comes to also working with Ecomcy is that we really personalize all our services to you. So what I mean by this is every single time a client joins Ecomcy, we make sure that you get assigned a brand manager that basically is going to familiarize with your brand, and he's going to be your single point of contact for everything. He's going to be usually the person that understands all your products inside out, your branding goals, and basically that's going to allow us to make sure that all the goals that you have in the long term are usually tailored into the services that you we provide you. So I think those are some of the main points. For sure, some maybe I'm leaving out, but I think that's some of the ones that come to my mind straight away. Yeah. I think I lost you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
I can hear you now.
Sorry for that. Like, look,
Awesome.
like today I have a little bit of a problem with my
Don't worry.
but I just want to repeat this because it makes a lot of sense, and also my experience also tells me that you are doing the right things here. I worked in a very much a customer obsessed company called Siebel before Oracle acquired Siebel in like 2006. And Tom Siebel was the guy who created the company. It's the first CRM company, and our signature was it's all about customer. So, and
Mm,
as you are always using the same signature, it's always becoming like, okay, it's all about customer, and you start from the customer and go backwards. Like, it's not that you start from your solution, which is PPC, for example.
yeah, yeah,
Instead of that, you start from the customer and the customer problem, and then go backwards. And it's all about the customer and the customer obsession. So having like a 24/7 support, and also able to personalize it, and having a brand manager who is accountable, that makes a lot of sense. And the other thing that I don't believe it's the right thing is, uh, actually, there are two sides of equation. One, I don't believe PPC agencies. Okay, like, I mean, because
mm.
PPC is just one part of the problem.
Of
I've
the of the huge puzzle, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
it's
Yeah.
like, that iceberg, the second picture that I
Mm,
see behind you. Like, I mean, people think, okay, this PPC is complex. I agree. It is not easy. And this automation tools, which claim that they do AI, is pretty much rubbish. Yes, they do tools and they help, but you always need someone on top of it.
For
and
sure.
and that guy needs to be an expert. But the problem is there is a bigger problem. It's not just a small PPC issue that you can fix, because let's say you don't have enough reviews. And I'm always having these conversations like the customer has 2 reviews and he's telling me, okay, let's start the PPC. Well, but you're not selling yet. Like maybe we need to play with other things. Also promotions, competitive pricing, the SEO, the quality of the image. I mean, there is a lot of things like changing the way that converts. So it makes a lot of sense not to just focus on the PPC, but all of them together. Then it makes sense to focus on PPC if you are taking care of everything all together. That there is a
Yeah,
amplified impact, right? Otherwise, you can
that's right.
thousands of dollars, and maybe you cannot end up anywhere. So I really like the differentiators, and I very much believe in the all-in-one solution for the customers as well. And back to the main theme of our show, which is pretty much about like aggregators and brands. Being in UK, there are a few very big aggregators, very promising. I know that you've been to a few of events like they
Yeah, for sure.
like Allsum, for example, our good friends, right? They created it like I think it's like 1.5 years back, if I'm not mistaken. So what's your view about the aggregators in Europe, in UK in particular? What are they doing?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the aggregators thing is a tricky one because I think everything went from flowers and rainbows to now being a lot of it underwater, right? So we are seeing definitely a decline when it comes to money being deployed into the market. And I think what happened, at least based on my assumption, this is all based from my point of view, is that at the beginning when all this money needed to be deployed, all these aggregators, because it was a race to basically make sure all the money was deployed, they started purchasing a lot of brands, and the multiples got basically skyrocket, basically multiples that some people was actually asking me last year, should I sell? They offer me 6-7 times, and I was saying, if they're offering 6-7 times a multiple, it's a no-brainer. I mean, there's no way you're gonna get something higher in the coming years because it's gonna be actually going downwards. And I think a lot of people now is regretting that it didn't sell. But anyway, I think going back to what I was saying, I think what happens is that a lot of them overpaid for these brands, and also the realistic. It wasn't realistic the amount of sales we were getting. Basically COVID, right? We saw a huge spike in e-commerce, and basically was this rush to buy all these brands. And actually we are seeing a decline. I mean, we're definitely seeing a decline across the board in some of the brands, and definitely consumer spending across the board is definitely decreasing in some of the categories. But I strongly believe that it's going to go back on track. I think this all down to what is happening with inflation. Recession has been announced eventually in the US and eventually worldwide. I think this definitely didn't, a lot of aggregators didn't expected that. And now they're having a challenge that basically they overpaid for some of the brands are not performing how they used to perform. And basically it's difficult now for them to pay back all the money they borrow to buy these brands. And now what is happening is that for them to survive, what they're doing is trying more money at PPC, trying to survive. That is spiking PPC and CPCs across the board, and that means almost nobody now is making money in some categories, right? And it's basically a downward thing that is becoming bad for some of them. And I think it's going to be interesting what is going to be happening in the coming months and the news we're going to see. Yeah.
Absolutely. By the way, I mean, when I first heard about this, and this is not like started with Trust.io, but like a couple of years back, before even Trust.io, there were a couple of guys who started the aggregator journey, both on the Shopify side and Amazon side at the same time. And then they failed, by the way, after a few years. And then the Trust.io came in, and they were so successful in raising more money, day after day. Like they raised bigger rounds, and then they opened the doors for the rest of them. I think like one of the things is sorted out, like in the second wave, like they understand how to raise money. Like I think that's sorted out. Like it looks like
for sure.
it works. Now, $15 billion is raised, right? And out of that $15 billion, I don't know how much is deployed, but I don't know. Let's assume 5 billion is deployed. It's huge money that is deployed to the small and medium businesses. They acquired a lot of companies, and pretty much maybe half of them are going for new brands. The other half is becoming teachers or gurus or agencies. I mean, I'm like here, seeing that all the time. What I'm saying is like, it was a great thing for the Amazon community, like to have $5 billion extra for the Amazon sellers. So it's a great reason, one additional reason to be on the Amazon space, especially as a private label or a brand. That's also what I encourage with a lot of guys who are coming, like new sellers. They're asking me, should I be a reseller or a private label? And I say, well, guys, like if you have the good idea, manufacturer, you should go be private label, because there is value of your business, right?
But if you're gonna sell a fidget spinner, don't do it.
There are a couple of reseller friends who are making millions of dollars, but they know that maybe tomorrow they come back to work and their account is suspended. So they also know that. It's like,
I know.
You know that you may die tomorrow. Like, I mean, they are fully aware of that. And I've been through this as well. I mean, we still have a 8-figure brand, which is like a mix of private label and reselling business in the CPG space. I still own it. And I can tell you that one time last year, I was suspended 3 days.
Wow.
I mean, 3 days.
I can imagine the fear.
$100,000 is gone. And it was a totally insane reason. Like, it makes absolutely no sense. But it took us 3 days even to reach out, case management, opening, like call somebody on Amazon and try to find a solution. It's always very tough. What's your experience, by the way, with Amazon now, being a full service agency? If you were a PPC agency, you will be like, I mean, I do my PPC and I go, right? I mean, and the 97% of the problems, it's with you, dear Amazon brand, and I can do my PPC. But now you're the full service agency. What are the biggest problems you are facing with to progress your business?
Yeah, I think the typical big problems that we always find is the typical listing separation, that we need to basically get a listing back online. When we need to get, for example, with some of the supplement brands we sell on, it's always sometimes tricky to get them approved. They don't have the right documentation. Some other issues we see a lot then is, for example, if they were doing things that were not correct before coming to us, like things with reviews, rebates, and all of that, then sometimes they can come back to you and bite you, and then we need to fight that and backlog everything. So these are some of the main issues. And for sure, also brand register. I mean, brand register is always present issues with brand register, like is people trying to hijack your listings or things like that. So I see that on a daily basis, I would say. So, but yeah, I think the number one thing for sure is issues with the listing. So for example, when people try to change the back end of your listing and put keywords there to change the category or get it suppressed. So yeah, things like that for sure.
Absolutely. And especially if you are spending more time with Amazon, I guess that creates another big issue. I'm sometimes wondering, like, because you don't know how long it will take to sort it out. Sometimes it's one call, which is very unlikely. And most of the time it's 10 calls. And sometimes on the 6th call, you go back to the step 1, which is a robot.
I know.
Again, telling you, thank you very much for
I know.
So how do you explain it to the customer? Even like, do they pay for it? Like, because, it's a problem. You spend 10 hours, but is anybody really appreciating it, like that you're spending so much time?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that we do as soon as is something like this happen is we get the brand money to have a call with the client just to explain what is going to be the process, what are the actions that we're going to take, the timelines. Sometimes we even show past cases in terms of what usually the time is going to take, how we made it successful. So they feel confident about what are the steps we're going to take. So that's usually the first thing, communication, 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 because I feel like if when a customer is having this stress down, the listing is down, their account is down, I think they want to feel supported, and they want to feel somebody's by their side and is fighting for them. And I think the last thing that you can do is then getting back to them every 24 hours or not replying quick enough. And because I feel the pain of being an Amazon seller as well. So the first thing I do is we put high priority on these cases, make sure that everything else is being done, like PPC listing, all of that is stopped, and all the team working on fixing that as soon as possible, and showing to the customer that that's the case, so they can feel relief and that we're doing everything possible to get fixed, right?
Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense. So back to our aggregators conversation. Now, we said these guys raised the money and now maybe deployed 30 to 40% of it, which means that there is a lot of money. Like they already have a lot of money. I don't think the money is spent yet. So there is another $5, $6, $7 billion. I'm not saying the same, like maybe it's not one of them, like maybe the other one.
I know.
I don't know that part, but I am still thinking less than 50% is deployed. I haven't seen any real indication how much of that is really deployed. Now, the question is, from your perspective, and you work with a lot of brands. Now, what should they do? Like, because I think one of the consequences, the multipliers went down, like maybe 2 to 3 times. Like, I don't think the Amazon sellers should expect 4, 5, 6x anymore. And I don't
that's
think
gone.
That's gone.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't think it's even related to the recession or anything about inflation. It's gone before that, because aggregator situation,
the hype and everything. Yeah,
that was the hype anyway. Now the hype is going more towards the reality, so the multipliers are gone. Now, what would be your advice to a brand which is like thinking, now I'm gonna sell my brand with 5x, I have this lemon squeezer and it's a great product, I can sell now my brand for $5 million. What's your recommendation?
So I would say the first thing is that if right now you're getting a multiplier around 5, 6 times or higher, I think it's no brainer. You should definitely consider that. And the reason why I think that is because it's very, and I know sometimes I have this conversation with founders and they say, yeah, but I'm going to launch new products and I'm going to do a new lineup and rebranding. And the first thing that I think is, first of all, there's huge risk on doing that, because I have seen huge brands having good multiples. They say, okay, no, we don't want to sell because we really believe in our brands and everything. They launch new products, rebranding, everything go downwards, and they don't get the multiplier anymore, right? So going back to the reason why if you're getting 6 times or higher multiplier, you should sell, is because most likely it's unlikely that by launching new products and doing all the strategy you have in mind, you're gonna do more money with that than selling at a 2 or 3 times multiplier. Doesn't make sense. Absolutely. So I think that's the reality you need to understand. So if you're definitely getting that offer in the table, definitely, and if you already have the experience, definitely try to use that to maybe launch new brands. I think that's definitely something I have seen, like a lot of good brands they sold, and now some of the founders that they sold, they're a bit afraid now to jump again on Amazon, because now they know it's more competitive, everything is more challenging. But I think for sure this like initial wave of sellers are gonna come back, and they're gonna use their experience to leverage new products and brands. But in the meantime, I definitely feel that right now, if you're getting a good multiplier, is definitely something you need to consider, because the only trend I see is going downwards. And if we combine the fact that the hype of aggregators buying brands is going down, and then we add on top of that inflations, recessions, and all of that, I don't think you're gonna get a good deal, at least for another 1 to 2 years as a minimum, as things go back to normal. And yes, I think that's for sure something you need to consider, because definitely if your idea is that you don't want to sell because you want to launch new products and have new strategies in mind, understand that that has a risk. And if the execution is not done properly, then most likely you're going to get even a lower deal down the line that what you're getting right now.
Makes a lot of sense. So what, I mean, if the brand is finding like a 3, 4, 5x, I think, 4, 5, 6x, no brainer, they should sell, and 2 to 3x probably will be the
That's right.
of the conversation in the next maybe 2 years. And I don't
That's right.
see a reason why it should go up. But one of the things that you mentioned was a little bit about the PPC, like this aggregators came into the picture.
Yeah,
I am not sure it's only because of them, because they still do not represent a kind of a majority of Amazon brands. Like, I mean, maybe they are like 1-2% of Amazon. Like, it's still $15 billion. It's nothing in $1 trillion revenue organization, right? I mean, it's like a huge business. Amazon is like a nation, as we said.
yeah, for sure.
So, but still, there is a fact that the PPC prices are increasing, although I see it more kind of a stagnant in the last couple of months, maybe because of the consumer demand decline, maybe because of other reasons, but still it's becoming more and more difficult to use PPC to make some money, right? I mean,
yeah,
what's I don't know, first of all, if that's also what you are observing as you are managing a lot of brands, and second, what can be done with that?
yeah, I think CPCs for sure we have seen a rise, and and we have seen some of the categories they keep increasing. And I think what is happening, I mean, it's a combination of multiple things, but I think one factor that people don't also consider is that back in the time when rebate was a thing, a lot of the money from PPC was also diverted towards rebates and doing these strategies to basically position. Now all that money is going back again into PPC, and people is also trying to now basically launch just with PPC. Most of the people that, if they don't have a strategy outside of Amazon. And now what is happening, I feel like PPC, because everybody's now watching the same strategies out there, they want to compete for top of the placement. They know they need to take the top 5-10 keywords, go exact match and everything. Everybody's doing the same, and basically the algorithm is just killing each other with CPCs, because that's the reality. Everybody's killing each other with PPC. And I think to add on top of that, the aggregators, is true, they don't contribute to maybe a big pool, but there are some categories that for sure they are strong. Like, for example, there are some categories I know that in the baby supplements, sports, there are a lot of brand purchase. And in some of those categories, the aggregators, they are now just trying to kill each other in the advertisement, because what happened now is that they need to basically give a response to their investors that what is happening, why sales are going down, everything. And the easiest way for them to fix the issue is at the PPC level, they just put more money into it, try to drive more sales. But in reality, this is just driving the profitability across the board down. And I feel, I mean, just going back really quickly to the aggregators, I think a big issue is that some of these aggregators, they try to find the solutions, I think, just on the PPC level, and they don't go deeper. And I think, for example, a lot of aggregators didn't try to negotiate the suppliers' prices, the shipping lines, all these other costs that actually can give you a profit margin quicker than just trying to play with the PPC. And I think this is just what created this a vicious cycle of now everybody's trying to fix the issue with PPC. And as you were saying, PPC just the tip of the iceberg. And the reality is that PPC is just there to enhance and drive traffic to your listing. But if in the first place your product is not competitive enough at the price point, offering images, branding, and listing, there's not, you can put millions of dollars in PPC, but in the long term, that's not going to save you. And in fact, if we actually see the distribution that we have seen that also across some of the brands, the balance is going backwards. Now, usually you used to see 30-40% of sales coming from PPC. the rest from organic. Now we're seeing a shift thing, right? Now we're seeing most of the sales, like 50-60% coming from PPC, and organic is becoming each day less. And of course, we need to add that this is also due to the so many placement Amazon is adding the first page. I mean, if you go right now to first page, it's like 50-60% of the page is a sponsor. Like every day is becoming more a pay to win thing. So it's very challenging. I think definitely some of the strategies you need to put on the table is finding solution outside of PPC. And that's why we at the agency, we're experimenting with new things that actually been paying off for some of clients, like using things such as Amazon Live, for example, in the US, external traffic things like working, for example, with YouTubers, influencers in TikTok, social media, because, or even Google Ads and blogging, because I feel sometimes putting the money into that is going to be cheaper than paying $7 for a click on Amazon, right? So those are the things you need to put on the table, and it's all about testing, because for sure some brands and pros work better in some strategies than others. So that's, I think, my take to summarize it as much as possible. Yeah,
that's great. Like, I mean, maybe some nuggets for our audience. Like, I mean, one of the last things that you mentioned, like what can be done besides the PPC, and the things that you are doing also for your clients. A couple of things that coming to my mind is Amazon Live that you mentioned, maybe using Google Ads, using the TikTok ads or TikTok influencers. And finally, one thing you didn't mention, but I see some traction with Amazon posts, like, you know, maybe doing posts and getting more followers. That can also help. Anything else coming to your mind about like any strategy that can be like a supplement to PPC?
Yeah, I would say I think the best strategy here is also to make sure that you have a strong offer on the table, and you got the pricing right, because I feel sometimes we try to fix our issues just on the advertisement department of our business, which is PPC, Amazon Live, Amazon, all these things, but sometimes the solution can be on your bottom line, which is your supplier. So I see so many times this mistake of founders that they don't try to negotiate the pricing, they don't try to find new locations for production, maybe play around with the materials of your product, the shipping methods you're using, and sometimes you are gonna get the result by saving, I don't know, $2-3 on your production line, that try to find a solution with external traffic and all of that, because you are getting the profit already in your hands by cutting the cost straight from the source, right? So I think those are all the things people should do. Not try to just get fixated on advertisement and all of that. Try to also find ways to cut your costs. So usually that's on your production and your shipping, and try to find alternatives as well.
No, that's a great one. For example, what we have on with Eva, it's a little bit crazy, but we kind of have almost 100,000 square feet warehouse space in the East Coast, Houston, and in the West Coast in California. And each time a new seller comes in and they are already using a 3PL, and I say, like, our prices are always competitive, but I mean, it's a profitable organization. But each time I receive like an invoice, and our team is like basically taking the invoice and then telling the customer what will we charge, and we are not like cheap, but we charge is like 15% less, like 10 to 20%. I can give you
big.
And I'm like thinking, I mean, I'm like thinking, like, if our pricing is too low, then I look at the operation. I think it's reasonable. It's the right price to charge. And the reason why I think like that is because I'm an Amazon seller, and I know how much I would pay to pick and pack a product. Like, I know about that, right? I'm not going to pay $3 for that. I don't think it's a 10 cents thing. So I know the price. Now, what I understand is, like, everybody's looking at the same things on the 3PL or in the supply chain. There is some certain unit prices that people look at, but they ignore the fact that in the supply chain, there is a lot of additional costs coming in, which they don't know. but it comes with the invoice, like, I don't know. There's a lot of costs coming in. And they need to be very careful on that. Like, this can easily save, like a good friend said one time, like, you win when you are buying, not when you are selling. Like, when you are buying, if your product is a low cost, if you have,
that's what I'm saying.
Exactly, the lowest shipping, the lowest third-party logistics, whatever is required, and then sometimes you send directly to Amazon, whatever it makes sense. And once you have the lowest cost, and then you have a competitive price, like you said,
then you worry about the rest.
Then you worry about the rest. Again, a customer was spending even $100,000s of dollars to DSP. And the question is, like, all the competitors, they are like 20% lower price. And Amazon shows all of them, like, I mean, people are looking at it. Like, I mean, there was all this famous question about like why people go to Amazon, because they trust the brand, because they trust a variety of options. And the third reason is because they want to get the lowest price. So these are the three reasons still for 100 millions to go into Amazon. Ignoring them is, I think, a big mistake, then maybe you should open your own store.
I know.
You are Gucci and you want to sell it at $500 for, I don't know, a shirt, it's okay. But on Amazon will be tough.
I mean, the pricing is always a funny thing, because as soon as you start touching pricing to people, the first thing they say, oh, but my product is premium, my product is made in this island in the middle of where it has a handcraft materials. And I say, I get it, it's better. Everything that you say is true, but people in Amazon don't care. They care about sometimes about pricing, and we need to understand that. And if we are selling in a category that the average pricing is $20 and you want to launch a premium thing for $100, it's difficult. You don't have a brand recognition, like I just say Gucci, Louis Vuitton, that they can put the price that they want. But if you're not there, there's no way you're gonna compete with that price, even if you put a magic on the product for 5-6 times the price of the average market. You see what I mean? So yeah,
absolutely. Vincenzo, I think that was a very, very productive, very valuable conversation. I hope that the audience will enjoy it very much. I think I learned a lot of things from you. I mean, you already highlighted these very important points, like the supply chain efficiency, the importance of the price, which on Eva, we always talk about dynamic.
I know.
And also having a full service agency rather than doing X or doing Y, because the key point is like to have the full view. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And we're going to be seeing how the aggregators will progress. But for the brands, maybe today is about surviving and thriving and ensuring that they make enough profits. And maybe they shouldn't be focusing on too much on in 6 months, I'm going to exit and go to, I don't know, the Maldives or Seychelles. I mean, the idea should be like, focus on your business, make sure it works, make sure you are profitable and you are growing. And then, one day somebody will come with an exit plan, right? I mean, that's more sense.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, I want to thank you once again for having me. I think for sure bringing this type of value to people is very important, because I feel sometimes when we're Amazon sellers, sometimes we become tunnel vision and we need sometimes these escapes to open our mind to new solutions. And that's why I wanted to point out the manufacturing side of things and all of that, because I feel so many times people get caught that the only solution is PPC and the typical things you see all over the place. But sometimes the solution is much simpler, just going down to your costs, saving as much as possible on the production line. I mean, I think something that we didn't even touch that is very important is the exchange rate. So many people is wasting thousands and thousands of dollars by not using the right payment solutions and things like that. And those are still percentages. They're going to give you more profitability than try to do a TikTok, right? So those are things I think it's very important to highlight, and hopefully they can find value out of them. Yeah,
absolutely. So thank you very much, Vincenzo, for joining our podcast, and looking forward to see you again. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.